Have you ever tried going without food for 14 hours? No snacks, no coffee, no water, nothing. Sounds crazy, right? But millions of people do it every single day for an entire month. And not because they're trying to lose weight or follow some new diet trend. They do it because it's part of a tradition that's deeper than most of us can imagine. Here's the thing. I used to think fasting was just about willpower, some tough guy challenge. But the more I looked into it, especially during Ramadan, the more I realized it's not just about skipping meals. It's about rewiring your mind. It's about gaining control over your body, your urges, your distractions. You learn what real hunger is. You learn what real gratitude is. And the craziest part, you come out stronger, sharper, more focused when you remove the constant feeding, the dopamine hits, the instant satisfaction. What's left is clarity, raw presence. There's something ancient and powerful about not giving in to every urge. And get this, people aren't just fasting during their vacation, they're working. Training, showing up, lifting weights, running businesses, raising families, while running on 0 calories during the day. And instead of becoming weaker, they build discipline like iron. Fasting during Ramadan isn't about suffering. It's about stepping into the fire and realizing you don't burn. If you've ever felt overwhelmed, distracted, soft, this kind of fasting will slap you awake. It'll show you how much stronger you are than your cravings. And that kind of strength, that's freedom. So when you watch someone fast all day with calm, with focus, with peace, you're not just watching someone who skipped lunch. You're watching someone who's conquered themselves. Fasting forces presence. And when I say presence, I don't mean some abstract meditation term. I mean real, raw awareness. You wake up in the morning and your brain already knows. Today is different. No coffee, no breakfast, no sipping water just because your mouth feels dry. You're not running on habit. You're running on intention. Everything slows down. You don't just eat out of boredom or scroll your phone while munching chips. You start feeling every second of the day. You become hyper-aware of your emotions, of time, of hunger, of energy, of everything. Most people walk around half asleep. They eat when they're not even hungry. They're scrolling, snacking, talking, watching, constantly distracted. But when you fast, the distractions start to fall away. You don't have the luxury of numbing yourself with food or drink. Suddenly, you're left with yourself, your thoughts, your breath, your body, and that's where the real battle begins. And it's beautiful, because presence isn't comfortable, it's sharp, it's intense, it's looking life in the face without filters. When your stomach growls and your brain says, just one bite, and you say, no, that's presence, that's control, that's self-awareness on another level. You know those moments where you're about to break? Like when you walk past your kitchen and smell something cooking and your mouth waters like a reflex, or you're sitting in a room full of people eating, laughing, sipping drinks, and you're just still, quiet, empty, and yet more grounded than anyone else in that room. Those moments feel like war, but when you don't flinch, when you sit in the discomfort and own it, that's when you level up. You start noticing things that didn't matter before, like how you breathe, like how your body feels at hour 10, or how your mind tries to trick you into quitting. You realize how often you chase quick comfort in life, food, caffeine, sugar, a mindless video, and you realize you don't need any of it to function. To thrive, you realize you've been letting small cravings dictate your day. Think about it. How many decisions do we make based on impulse? We grab coffee because we're tired. We eat because we're bored. We scroll because silence feels awkward. Fasting strips all of that away. It forces you to sit in the rawness of the moment, to feel your feelings without buffering them. And once you do that, once you survive that first wave of discomfort, you come out sharper, more alert, more intentional. Presence isn't something you buy. It's something you earn through stillness, through silence, through pushing back against your own urges. Fasting hands you that gift on a silver platter, but it makes you work for it. It says, if you want to understand yourself, if you want to control your life, start by controlling your appetite. And it's crazy how this spills into everything else. Suddenly, you're listening better. You're speaking with more purpose. You're not just reacting. You're responding. You stop wasting time. You become more grateful, more aware of the people around you, more in tune with your body. It's like upgrading your operating system. Your senses are sharper. Your mind is clearer. You feel grounded even when chaos is happening around you. It's not about food anymore. It's about owning the moment. Not letting life rush past you in a blur. Fasting grabs you by the shoulders and says, wake up, feel this moment, own it. And maybe for the first time in a long time, you're not running away from the now. You're in it fully, painfully, beautifully. Discipline becomes your weapon, not your money, not your status, not your followers. Discipline. Because when life hits, when things get messy, when everything feels uncertain, the only thing you can truly rely on is your ability to stay the course when you're fasting, especially during Ramadan. Discipline isn't optional, it's survival. It's that quiet voice inside that says, I'm in control, even when your stomach screams otherwise. And that's when you begin to understand something most people never will. Power isn't in reacting. Power is in restraint. Think about how most people live. Everything is instant. Hungry? Order food. Bored? Scroll your phone. Tired? Skip the workout. Discipline is rare because comfort is everywhere. And that's exactly why it becomes your edge. When you fast, you start training your mind like a warrior. You don't eat when your body says, I want. You eat when it's time. You don't drink just because your throat feels dry. You wait patiently. And in that waiting, you build muscle, not just in your body, but in your mind. Discipline is when you wake up early even though every part of your body begs for sleep. It's when you go to the gym even when no one's watching. It's saying no to things that feel good now but steal from your future. It's choosing purpose over pleasure. You become someone who doesn't need permission to improve. You don't wait for motivation. You don't make excuses. You just do the damn work. Fasting during Ramadan is the ultimate test of that. You go through your day working, studying, driving, showing up, and you do it all while your body is in a deficit. And guess what? You still perform. You still stay focused. And every day, when you resist the urge to cave, you sharpen your blade. Discipline becomes part of you, not something you turn on and off. Imagine you're stuck in traffic, the sun's beating down, your mouth is dry, and your energy's low. Now, imagine you're still calm, still patient, still grounded. That's discipline. Or maybe you're at a dinner with friends, plates full of food, lot of smells that make your stomach twist, and you smile, you breathe, and you wait. That's strength most people can't even comprehend. People talk about freedom, freedom to eat what you want, drink what you want, but real freedom, it comes from discipline. It comes from not being a slave to every craving, every emotion, every impulse. When you have discipline, you can take pain and not flinch. You can delay pleasure and not panic. You can walk through fire with your head up. Not because you're invincible, but because you're intentional. And what's wild is that discipline multiplies. Once you master it in one area, like fasting, it bleeds into everything. You start organizing your life. You build routines. You stop wasting time on things that don't matter. You speak with more weight. You act with more conviction. You start living with purpose instead of drifting aimlessly. People ask, oh, how do I change my life? The answer is discipline. Not motivation, not hype, discipline. The grind you show up for even when it's boring, the choices you make when no one's watching, the little battles you win every day silently, because over time, those tiny acts stack up. They become your armor. They become your identity. And that's what fasting teaches you. Not just how to go without food, but how to go without excuses, how to suffer with grace, how to walk with power even when you're running on empty. It's not about deprivation. It's about domination of your mind, your habits, your world. That's the kind of discipline that doesn't just get noticed. It gets remembered. You become mentally tougher, not in some abstract philosophical way, but in the most gritty, unglamorous, real-life kind of way. Fasting isn't just about food. It's about saying no when every fiber of your body is screaming yes. It's about sitting in discomfort and refusing to run from it. And over time, that starts to change something deep inside you. Because when you can handle hunger, you start to believe you can handle anything. Mental toughness doesn't come from reading quotes or watching motivational videos. It's built in silence. It's built when your mouth is dry, your stomach's tight, and you still show up to work, still take care of your responsibilities, still treat people with patience and kindness. That's not weakness. That's next level strength. Picture this. It's the 5th day of fasting. You've been up since early morning, no food, no water. Your mind starts playing tricks on you, telling you to give up, to just take one sip, to make an excuse. And no one would know. But you'd note in that moment when you decide to push through, instead of giving in, something powerful happens. You start building a voice inside you that says, "Don't break." That voice, that inner belief, it's not loud, it's not dramatic, it's quiet, steady, like steel being forged in fire. Every time you resist the urge, every time you hold the line, you harden your mindset. You stop reacting to life. You start responding with clarity. People who've never fasted don't get it. They think it's just about skipping meals. But it's not. It's training. It's building resistance to pressure. And that kind of training shows up everywhere. When life throws chaos your way, stress, loss, pain, you've already built the skill to endure. You've already learned to keep your cool when your body's screaming, when the world feels heavy. Think about the average day. Someone cuts you off in traffic. You explode. A small inconvenience ruins your mood. You miss a meal and you're irritated. Now compare that to someone who fasts. They walk through that same world with patience, with poise. Not because it's easy, but because they've been sharpening their mental blade in silence. Mental toughness means you don't need external conditions to be perfect in order to stay grounded. You've been through hunger, fatigue, thirst. You've faced them and you've said, "I'm still here." And every time you do that, your mind rewires. It starts believing that pain is temporary, that frustration doesn't define you, that your emotions don't control you, you control them. And then one day you're in a situation that would have broken the old version of you. Maybe it's a breakup, maybe it's job pressure, maybe it's just one of those days when everything goes wrong, but you're calm, not because the situation is easy, but because you are strong, because you've trained for this, because you've already suffered and survived. That's what fasting gives you, not just discipline, but durability, a kind of quiet confidence that says, "I've been empty and I still stood tall." It's in your eyes, in your tone, in the way you handle pressure without folding. Mental toughness isn't about never feeling weak. It's about not letting weakness dictate your choices. It's about showing up with power even when you're running on fumes. You start to realize that the world doesn't need to get easier. You just need to get stronger. And you are every fasted hour, every silent struggle, every quiet win. You're building mental armor, and it's not flashy, it's not loud, but it's real, and it changes everything. Your body starts healing itself, not in a magical, instant way, but in the kind of way that happens when you finally stop interrupting the natural intelligence built into your biology. Fasting doesn't just silence the noise outside. It quiets the chaos inside. When you stop feeding your body every few hours, when you pause the constant digestion cycle, something amazing kicks in. Your body finally has the space to repair, to clean, to regenerate. It's like putting the phone down long enough for it to actually charge. People underestimate what the human body can do when given the chance. Every time you fast, you activate something called autophagy. It's your body's built-in cleaning system. Damaged cells, waste material, toxins, they get swept out, dismantled, held, recycled. Your body looks around and says, "We've got a moment to breathe now. Let's fix what's broken." And the craziest part is it's been waiting to do that. But we're constantly feeding it, stuffing it, stressing it, distracting it. Think about your kitchen. If someone's always cooking, piling up dishes, leaving messes behind, the kitchen never gets cleaned. But if you stop for a while, cleanup finally happens. That's what fasting does. It clears the counters, it empties the trash, it lets your system restore itself, your inflammation drops, your blood sugar stabilizes, your mind sharpens, your body goes from survival mode to optimization mode. And this doesn't just show up in lab reports or charts. It shows up in your skin, in your energy, in your sleep, in how light your body feels when you wake up, how focused your mind becomes when you're not bogged down by digestion. Every 3 hours, your gut starts working better. Your joints feel looser. That brain fog you thought was just part of life, it lifts. We live in a world of overconsumption. Food is everywhere. Snacks in every drawer, drinks in every hand. The body never gets a break. It's constantly digesting, absorbing, processing. No wonder we feel sluggish, tired, heavy. We don't give ourselves a moment to reset, but fasting changes that. Imagine waking up on day 7 of Ramadan. Your body has adjusted. The hunger isn't as sharp. Your focus is laser. Your breath is calm. And underneath all of that, your cells are hard at work, scrubbing away what's no longer needed. Not just physically, but emotionally too. Fasting has this strange way of pulling things to the surface. It's like your body and mind are sensing up to do deep house cleaning. And it's not just for monks or health freaks. This is ancient, primal. This is something built into the fabric of being human. It's what your ancestors did naturally, feast and famine. But now, we're stuck in endless feast, endless inputs, no pause. Fasting brings back the balance. It resets the system. You start to crave better things. Real food, clean water, deep sleep, silence. When your body gets that reset, it starts communicating more clearly. The cravings disappear, the fatigue fades, and in that clarity, you remember something important. You're not broken. You're just overloaded. Your body wants to thrive. It's begging to heal. It just needs a window, a little space, a break from the madness. And when you give it that through fasting, it doesn't waste the opportunity. It repairs, it recovers, it rebuilds. And you feel it, not just in your stomach, but in your spine, your breath, your posture, your thoughts. Healing isn't just about medicine. It's about removal. Remove the junk. Remove the constant input. Remove the clutter, and what's left is the most powerful healing machine on earth, your body, doing exactly what it was designed to do, without interference, without noise, without asking for anything but time and trust. It breaks your addiction to comfort. And that's where the real transformation begins. Because comfort, as innocent as it seems, is often the enemy of growth. It's a warm blanket that slowly suffocates your potential. We live in a world that's built to make you soft, temperature-controlled rooms, food delivered to your door, entertainment available in your pocket 24/7. You don't even have to feel hunger anymore. One little craving and you're chewing. One little ache and you're complaining. One tiny boredom and you're scrolling. But when you fast, all of that changes. Suddenly, comfort is no longer the baseline. You're choosing discomfort intentionally. You're saying, I could take the easy path, but I won't. And that decision alone reshapes you. When you sit through the hunger instead of reacting to it, you realize that discomfort doesn't kill you, it builds you. Think about the first few days of fasting. Your body feels weak. Your mood shifts. Your head starts pounding. You open the fridge out of habit and just stare, but you don't eat. You close the door and walk away, and in that moment, you break something more powerful than hunger. You break the loop, that automatic pattern of pleasure seeking, that constant need for relief. Comfort makes you forget what you're capable of. It makes you believe that pain should be avoided at all costs, that every inconvenience is a problem. But when you fast, you see through the illusion. You realize that pain can be a teacher, that hunger can be holy, that struggle can be sacred. You start to crave challenge, not because it's fun, but because it purifies you. And then something incredible happens. You become more alive, more alert, more present. You stop chasing every little craving and start asking deeper questions. Am I eating because I'm hungry or just because I'm uncomfortable? Am I reaching for my phone because I care or because I'm avoiding silence? Fasting forces those confrontations. It corners you with your own habits. You walk into a room where everyone is eating, laughing, snacking, sipping, and you're just sitting there, calm, not because you're superhuman, but because you've trained yourself to be comfortable with discomfort. And that gives you a kind of power that comfort never could. And this doesn't stop with food. The mindset spreads. Suddenly, you're waking up earlier. You're pushing harder in your workouts. You're saying no to things that once controlled you. You're no longer addicted to ease. You've realized that the hard path is the real path, that pressure creates diamonds, that the furnace of discomfort reveals the steel in your spine. Look around. Most people are trapped in their comfort zones, doing the same things every day, not because it's right, but because it's easy. And that's why they stay stuck. Fasting breaks that. It shakes the snow globe, it throws you into the cold, and then teaches you how to build your own fire. Every day that you fast, you remind yourself, I don't need to give in to every urge. I'm not here to just feel good. I'm here to grow, to evolve, to earn my peace. And once you experience the strength that comes from resisting comfort, you'll never want to go back. You'll look at that couch, that snack, that shortcut, and say, I've done more with less. Discomfort becomes your ally. The hunger becomes your compass. And slowly, without even realizing it, you stop fearing the storm. You start walking straight into it because you've seen what you're made of when comfort is stripped away. And it's stronger, wiser, and far more powerful than you ever imagined. It's not about food. It's about control. Because if you think fasting is just about skipping meals, you've missed the real lesson. It's not about what you're avoiding. It's about what you're mastering. And the thing you're learning to master is yourself. Look around. People are controlled by cravings they don't even recognize. They wake up tired and reach for caffeine without thinking. They feel stressed and eat something sweet. They feel bored and scroll through nonsense for hours. They're not living, they're reacting to impulses, to emotions, to fleeting desires. They're being pulled around by invisible strings, and they think it's normal. But fasting cuts those strings. Fasting says, you want it, you don't get it, not right now. And that changes everything. Because once you start saying no to things you used to say yes to automatically, you take your power back. You stop being a slave to your urges. You become the one in charge. And that's where control begins, not over others, not over your environment, but over the one thing you were born to master, your own mind. When you fast, you realize how many decisions you've been making out of habit instead of intention. You see how much of your day is dictated by comfort seeking. That mid-morning snack, that unnecessary coffee, that evening binge, it's not hunger, it's impulse. And every time you say no, every time you resist that temptation, you're not just avoiding calories, you're building a new identity. You're becoming someone who doesn't need to give in, someone who can wait, someone who can choose. Think about the power in that. Imagine being the kind of person who doesn't panic when hunger hits, who doesn't spiral when things feel uncomfortable, who can sit in a room full of people indulging and still stay centered. That's real control, not because you're numb or cold, but because you're connected to something deeper than temporary satisfaction. There's a moment that comes during fasting, usually around the middle of the day, where everything in you says, just stop. Your energy dips. Your mouth is dry. Your thoughts start negotiating. Maybe just one bite. Maybe no one will notice. And right there, in that raw, vulnerable moment, you have a choice. You either go back to being controlled or you rise and reclaim control. And when you choose to rise, when you look that voice in the eye and say, not today, something profound happens. You don't just feel stronger, you become stronger. Because self-control is a muscle. And fasting trains it like nothing else. It spills over. Suddenly, you're not just resisting food. You're resisting gossip, resisting procrastination, resisting old patterns. You start speaking with intention, walking with direction, living with discipline. You start saying no to what doesn't serve you, and that no becomes your gateway to freedom. Real freedom isn't doing whatever you want. Real freedom is having the power to choose your response, to not be a prisoner to craving, to not let your lowest desire dictate your highest potential. Every fasted hour is a statement. It's you telling your body, I run this. It's you proving to yourself that your emotions don't rule you, your comfort doesn't own you, your hunger doesn't define you. And when you reach the end of the day, when the sun sets and you finally take that first sip of water, that first bite of food, you don't feel broken. You feel victorious because you didn't fast just to eat. You fasted to conquer, to sharpen, to gain control in a world that's constantly trying to take it away. You don't walk away from fasting smaller. You walk away bigger, not in body, but in will, not in ego, but in clarity, because the lesson was never about food. It was about power, quiet power, internal power, the kind of power no one can give you and no one can take away. You gain clarity, not just physically, but spiritually, and not in a floating above the clouds kind of way, but in a real grounded, soul awakening way. Fasting doesn't just clean your body, it clears the fog from your mind and strips the noise from your spirit. We live in a world that's always turned up to full volume. Notifications buzzing, screens glowing, thoughts racing. And somewhere in that chaos, we lose ourselves, we lose our inner voice, we lose our sense of purpose. But when you fast, when you go through hours without food or water, something inside you goes quiet, and then something deeper begins to speak. At first, it's uncomfortable. You're used to numbing yourself with snacks, comfort food, little pleasures throughout the day. But now, all that's gone. The silence creeps in. The cravings hit. Your body starts whispering things you usually drown out. But instead of reaching for something to cover it up, you listen. And in that listening, you start to hear truth. Your thoughts become sharper. You notice the patterns of your mind. You catch yourself before slipping into habits that don't serve you. The things that once felt urgent, social media, cravings, distractions, start to feel hollow. And then the clarity drops in. Not like a thunderclap, but like a sunrise, slow, undeniable, powerful. You start asking real questions. Who am I when no one's watching? What am I really hungry for? Is it food or is it peace, comfort, or connection. You begin to see that most of the time you've been feeding your body to avoid feeding your soul. And suddenly, the smallest things hit different. The sound of your own breath becomes a reminder that you're alive, that you're more than your job, your image, your routine. You begin to move slower with more presence. You start noticing things, the quiet hum of the world, the expressions on strangers' faces, the weight of your own footsteps. Your whole life begins to slow down, not because you're tired, but because you're finally present. Clarity shows up in how you speak. You're not talking just to fill space anymore. You're speaking from a place of stillness, from depth. People notice. They feel it. Your words land heavier. Your silence feels stronger than noise because you're not reacting, you're responding. Spiritually, it's like looking into a mirror for the first time in years. Not the one that reflects your face, the one that reflects your truth. Fasting pulls back the curtain. It shows you what's been buried under routine, under stress, under constant distraction. You start seeing your fears, your dreams, your flaws, your power, and you don't run from them. You face them. It's not about religion or rituals. It's about returning to yourself, about finding the you that's been waiting underneath the noise, the version of you that's steady, unshakable, connected to something deeper than likes and opinions. That's spiritual clarity, not floating away, but being so grounded that nothing shakes you. And it starts with a simple act of not eating, not drinking, not because you have to, but because you choose to. And in that choice, you unlock a part of yourself that most people never meet. The part that sees through the chaos, the part that moves with intention, the part that knows peace isn't found in comfort. It's found in clarity. Fasting doesn't give you all the answers, but it gives you the space to ask the right questions. And in a world full of noise, sometimes that's all you need, not another distraction, but a moment of truth, a moment where your body is still, your mind is calm, and your spirit is finally fully awake. This isn't just about fasting. This is about taking back control of your life. It's about walking through the fire of your own cravings and realizing you don't burn. It's about remembering that every time you say no to something that weakens you, you're saying yes to something that strengthens you. The real flex isn't eating what you want whenever you want. The real flex is self-mastery. The real flex is discipline, because when you master the inner world, the outer world bows to you. People chase power. People chase money. They chase recognition. But the strongest people you'll ever meet are the ones who've mastered their impulses, the ones who can sit in silence without fidgeting, who can face hunger without panic, who can walk into chaos and remain unmoved. That's not weakness. That's legendary strength. When you fast, you're not just skipping meals. You're entering the battlefield of your own mind. You're going to war with comfort, with habit, with the version of yourself that wants to stay small. And every day that you complete, every hour that you conquer, you're building a new version of you. A version that doesn't fold under pressure. A version that isn't led by desire, but by purpose. And you begin to realize that greatness was never hidden in some faraway goal. It was always inside of you, buried under convenience. Buried under distraction, buried under the lie that you need to feel good to be powerful. You don't. You need to be consistent. You need to be disciplined. You need to be willing to do the hard things even when no one is clapping. People say the strongest man is the one who lifts the most weight. But no, the strongest man is the one who lifts himself every single time he wants to quit. It's the one who shows up tired, who shows up hungry, who shows up broken, and still keeps moving forward. Pain is temporary. Quitting lasts forever, but resilience rewrites your entire story. The hunger you feel today becomes the strength you carry tomorrow. The discomfort you embrace today becomes the fire that sets your soul on a higher path. And if you think this is just about fasting, you're still looking on the surface. This is about unlocking a part of you that doesn't answer to weakness anymore. It's about breaking every chain that held you back. The chain of laziness, the chain of overthinking, the chain of fear. You are stronger than your excuses, stronger than your past, stronger than your urges. And when you can look at temptation, smile, and say, not today, you become dangerous. Not in a reckless way, but in the most focused, unstoppable, grounded way possible. Remember, the lion doesn't need to roar to prove its strength. It walks with a presence that speaks louder than noise. And that's you now. Walking through this world not trying to prove anything, but carrying proof in your discipline, your silence, your endurance in a world that's obsessed with speed. You chose patience. In a culture that glorifies indulgence, you chose restraint. In a time where everyone wants attention, you chose intention, and that makes you rare. As you break your fast tonight, don't just think about food, think about everything else you broke: the cycle, the weakness, the comfort addiction, and in its place, what you built: resilience, clarity, presence, power. This isn't the end of a fast. This is the beginning of a new chapter, one where you don't run from the hard path, you own it. One where you don't chase easy, you chase excellence. You've proven something most people never will, not to the world, to yourself. And that's what makes you unstoppable, because once a person learns how to conquer their own hunger, there's nothing in the world that can't be overcome. So rise, walk differently, think differently, not because you want to impress anyone, but because you've seen what you're made of when comfort is stripped away, and what's left is unbreakable.